Hey.
No, not hey y'all today. I didn't even hit the button yet.
Oh,
I was just telling you I was ready. Now it's recording.
okay.
Now you can continue, but I was not.
Okay, y'all. Today is April 4th. Um, it's Bree and
Brandon,
we're here.
you're swallowing a drip sip of Coke.
So, our podcast, we did not edit. I think two people listened to it and we kind of got a little feedback, and I appreciate those that gave us some feedback. And one of the listeners wanted to get our thoughts on infant baptism.
They said infant
They
baptism?
specifically said infant
You
baptism.
haven't even brought that portion up to me yet.
Oh, I didn't.
No, you didn't say that at all.
Yeah, so they said
Oh,
on Presbyterian's viewpoint on infant baptism
okay, so
and the
let's.
theology of
Okay, so quick disclaimer.
Presbyterian.
Okay, I'm just gonna say this much. We're driving home from our date night where we went to Ford's Garage in Gainesville. So you may hear a little bit of road noise in the background. Hopefully not much. But it's not something we plan to do all the time. But sounds like this episode's gonna be more theologically based than what, family based? Well, I mean it's still kind
I
of
mean,
family
it's still
based.
family, just a different.
Yeah, so we don't know where it's gonna go, but
Yeah.
we're gonna follow it, or we're gonna start it and see where we go. So go ahead.
So, I think we should kind of talk about maybe our journey to, because we are members of
RCC Ocala.
RCC. Yeah, it's a weird RCC. Um, Redeemer Community Church Ocala, which is a Presbyterian church,
PCA.
PCA, the good one.
There's a few good ones, honey. But
No, I meant the good
we're not
branch.
PC. We're not
Correct.
PC USA for one,
Yes,
and there's a few others we could.
that's what
Yeah,
I meant. Like the good
we're not here to bash different
Presbyterian.
denominations, so,
Yeah. Um.
unless you're a Reformed Baptist.
Anyways, but we haven't always been.
No.
Brandon and I started going to church like together back in 2011, well, technically 2010, 29, 29. Oh no,
No,
2009.
it'd be 2009. Yeah.
Yeah, 2009 is when we started just dabbling here and there, and then we officially started going to church 2011. And then I think the more you learn, what would you say?
About us or about?
About theology,
Okay, so
about your
yeah,
faith, about Christianity, and I f- I say the word outgrow. I feel like we, maybe that's not the right word, but we outgrew some of the churches we went to, and our
move from
beliefs
milk to
changed. Yes, like a baby nurses, and they're on milk, and then you start adding, some thicker foods, and then thicker, and then they can eat some steak. And I feel like where we are now, we're on steak. Very
almost.
well done steak.
I wouldn't say well done, and I wouldn't say steak yet.
No, okay, not
I mean,
steak.
we're in the right. We're at the right dinner hall, right?
Okay.
We're at the right banquet, right? We're just the steak is, I think, a personal. Okay, say it this way. I think if you're eating steak, you're in a seminary. Okay, let me put it that way. So for me, if I'm eating steak,
So are you meatloaf?
I would not say that at all. That's like, no. For me, meatloaf is going to Church of the Springs. Okay. No, and I don't mean to be wrong or mean there. Okay.
As
I
meatloaf?
probably should edit that part out. I tried to be mean.
I thought
But
that
that's a different style of worship and everything.
I
So
thought that'd be like cereal or something.
no, we're not doing the demeaning thing, honey. Okay, so
I if by no way meant
if
that.
we're studying, the third and fourth, secondary type, things, then we can say we're really digging into the steak. I think what we're getting at church is a full course meal, and I think it's what we need, and I think it's able to help someone grow in their spiritualness or spiritual faith in their life with God. Um, but it's not like we are every Sunday, pulling out the Greek New Testament and studying each and every word to get a better basis of the context. So while context is there, we're not digging in like that.
Okay, well, let's go back to
Okay.
what I was trying to lead down the path was we are where we are now, but we haven't always been here. So rewind back to
Publix.
2017.
Oh,
We're only going to 2017. We're trying to keep this short. At
it's
least
only
I
8 years.
am.
That's 8 years back. You could try.
So we um wait, what year did I say?
17.
We visited Woodside Baptist. I can say the name of the church. We visited, ended up becoming members of another church. They dissolved. Or maybe, yeah, well, there's issues. Anyways, so
Every church has its issues. That one just reared its ugly head, and it was sad to see.
it was very sad to see, but I feel God led us
But yes.
to Woodside. And we were there. And
Oh, was that 17?
yeah,
That's
like
crazy.
17, 18.
Okay.
'Cause I had George Kate in 19.
Yep.
So 17 we were at the other one. But we visited them in 2017.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Anyways.
These are the details you guys want, okay?
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear any complaining.
So anyways, so we started attending, became members. Great. Reformed Baptist theology. We went
What's
to
that?
you tell us, what is
Do we
that?
have any? Well, I don't. I was kind of hoping you'd tell me what's the difference between Baptist and Reformed Baptist.
I would like you to talk.
Okay. Well, essentially, we're looking at confessions and creeds. That would be my, okay, let me say it this way. The um, Reformed Baptist who is engulfed in the
1689.
well, yes, but I mean the Reformed Baptist is going to know, right? Like they're following the 1689 Confession of Faith, where like your typical Baptist church, they're following most likely the 2000 Baptist Faith and Message, right? So that's your confession for the faith, and it's a little, it's not uh what unorthodox. It's just not very distinct and very peculiar, or nah, that's not the right word. It's not very direct in certain areas. And so then you have the 1689 London Baptist Confession of Faith, and that's really where the Reformed Baptist comes in, because they're really kind of bringing it back. They're more serious, I would say, about their faith and what they're studying. They care about what they're being taught a lot more than the typical Baptist, who's you're going to hear more of a topical, um, be a good Christian type of sermon. So, I mean,
Now I did, before we continue real fast, what is theology? Some people don't even know what theology
okay,
is.
so theology is study of God.
Yep. So now things that we talk about, I just want to make it kind of clear. They're not necessarily salvation issues.
Right.
And I don't want anyone to think we're putting anyone down or this and that.
Well, let me just cut in, because you're going 60 and I'm like at 35 right now. So you need to slow it down. You're speeding.
Okay.
We're in a speed trap, people. We're in that area, and I don't want to get.
Well, I don't say it's a trap because
No, it's a trap. It's what they do.
I was
They being,
the good law enforcement that upholds
yes,
the laws.
yes,
Yep.
good for them. All right,
Okay, so
just got me nervous.
what did I say?
You were, oh goodness, you're talking about. Oh man, I have no idea.
Theology
Theology, yes,
and how I'm not hating on anyone.
yes. Not hating on anyone if they don't know what theology means.
No, that wasn't it.
Oh, well, I'll quote.
I'll
See if
talk.
oh, okay.
I was saying that this is not salvation issues.
Oh, that's right.
And I don't want anyone to be upset with me. So please know if I say something that might come off a little edgy or something, I'm not personally saying we can have a difference of opinion and still follow after Christ and still be believers.
But disclaimer, these are the opinions of Brandon and Bree Caraway, not the PCA Church, not Redeemer
Correct.
Community Church, not
Yes.
any other church we've been affiliated
This is
with.
just
This is
what
our take, our perspective on what we've understood and learned through our time,
correct.
and
And it
where
doesn't
we're
mean
at.
it's necessarily right. And I'm not representing the church by saying this is what we believe. I mean, I can definitely get things
Yeah.
wrong or
I
misspeak.
mean, I would say we could pull the Apostles' Creed out and say this is what we believe,
Yeah.
and we can land there, and any differences past that we can all go
Right.
further on. But yeah,
So, anyways, back to reeling and then some. Um, we were members of the church for a while, and as we studied, as um, Brandon led the study, and he did a lot of that in his own time with buddies, and and I'm just kind of like here along for the ride. And he mentioned one day, I think I'm leaning Presbyterian. I think we need to get our babies baptized. I look at the covenant differently than we once did, or than he once did. And I was like, oh, really? Like, I grew up always believing, even though we didn't always go to church, like when I was younger, that you had to be baptized, full immersion in the water. There was no sprinkling, no, like, this is just believer's baptism all the way. So I was like, I don't know. I was really skeptical. And do you have anything to add on that?
I mean, I could add, but I was gonna let you continue.
Okay. So then I'm not going to say any names because I don't know, upset anybody or put anyone out there, but we went to one of our pastors and we're like, hey, Brandon and I sat down with him and said, we really want to get our babies baptized. We feel like this is what we need to do. And he said he had no problem with that. However, he could not do that because of the church bylaws, because of what the church believed. They don't do those.
And
They
his own
do
convictions.
right. Um, but he didn't have a problem with us. Like he wasn't there to talk us out of it and say no, you can't get it done. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't a salvation issue. But then that led us to you did research and you started looking.
Well, I'd say there's a
I don't really remember.
I'd say there's a couple things to that I'm thinking of.
I was pregnant, just so you know, during this time I was pregnant and just had a baby. So
Are you trying to claim pregnancy brain on us?
no, really. So I just it was a
Any mistake that was made is Brandon's fault entirely.
there's no mistake.
So no,
All God's providence. But I'm just saying, like, my brain's a little
yeah, so
mush.
so to clear up what I think should be stated is, when it comes to baptism, right? You do not, and this is where you'll have other denominations that will differ, but I will say you do not have to be baptized to go to heaven, right? It is not a it is a work that man would do, and we don't go to heaven by works. So baptism is not it's us following the Lord's steps. It's not us making our path to heaven any greater, or making it part of something that we do, because the work of getting to heaven is through Christ and Christ alone, and that's how that works. So with that being said, when it comes to baptism, you have your Baptist side, whether there's Baptist, Reformed Baptist, Independent Baptist, you know, white, blue, black Baptist. It doesn't matter. Baptist. It's full submersion in the water, dunkin, and we are, you know, being baptized after. Right. The key element here is that we're doing it after we're confessing and repenting of our sins. We're not doing it before. We're not baptizing babies because babies don't know that they're sinning. Uh, they are essentially babies who no, they don't know they're babies. So we don't baptize the babies, right? We're Baptists. That's how we do things. We wait till they grow up, and if they find they're convicted of their sin, they ask Christ to, you
Come
know,
in their heart.
well, I was going to be careful with that one, but
They do.
that's,
I mean,
but yeah, so essentially just decide to live their life for Christ. Then they would, receive the covenant sign of baptism and then follow through with partaking of communion, the Lord's Supper. For the Presbyterian, we're viewing things a little differently. We're looking at the covenant. We're looking at, uh, what was, from uh, how God views the household. And I would say for me, what really cleared it up was, um, it's the promise is to you and your household, to you and your family. Um, so when I looked at, should I baptize my infant or should I baptize my children? It became a matter of, well, how am I supposed to raise my children? Am I evangelizing my children or am I discipling my children? And in Joshua we know, it's, as for me and my house we will serve the Lord. We're taking it different places in scripture that talks about the family. And the I would say the what I looked at was the ownership of the family, the headship of the family being, the man. And obviously the man is under Christ, and the woman is with the man. And so we're looking at, uh I looked at it like, who's responsible, for not making sure their children are raised in the way of the Lord. And I really kind of chewed on that for a while. Like, that's uh, my responsibility, make sure I raise my children in the Lord's way. And so I felt, well, I'm not evangelizing my kids, right? Because that's leaving it open to, a level of interpretation. I'm discipling my kids in the work of the Lord. I'm teaching them the scriptures. I'm, you know, teaching them God's laws and what he expects of us and how we're supposed to live. And that's not evangelizing, that's discipling. And you don't baptize people, you only evangelize. You baptize disciples, right? So when I'm looking at the kids being in the family and I'm discipling them, I'm already considering them as part of God's body, as part of the church, because realistically, they are.
and I think I just kind of want to get some clarity. And I believe my memory serves me right. That's not what Baptists do. They don't look at the children, infants, the toddlers, the preschoolers as
Part of the church.
part of the church.
And that's right. I mean, they
Okay.
they don't. I mean, there may be some Baptist church out there that does, but essentially, you're not part of the church because you haven't confessed Christ.
Right.
And since you haven't confessed Christ, you are not a member of the church.
Right.
You're not a member of that body. Um, and so with Presbyterianism, it's we're not saying you are part of the body in the sense of you are saved, right? It's not a salvific issue, which is why our pastor said he didn't have an issue with us wanting those things because he knew it wasn't on a salvific, salvific being salvation based reason. It was um,
The view of the covenants, right? They're
yeah, it's just
different.
it's the way you're looking at the covenant. And so for us, it was, I need to baptize my children because I'm discipling them in the way of the Lord, and they are part of the church because we're treating them as such. And Baptists, you know, religion, whatever.
The
Um,
non-doms,
yeah,
whatever you want to.
you're not looking at the kids as part of the church. However, you're doing all the other things, right? You're doing everything.
You're doing and uh, what are those things called? Dedications.
Yes, baby dedication, the dry baptisms.
Yes.
So, I would essentially just ask the Baptist, like, why are you doing a dedication? Like with the child. Like what's the point of it?
And when we say Baptist, we're not picking on Baptists.
No, this is just where we came.
This is where we
And
came.
this was our thought
Yeah.
process going through things. And,
Yeah.
like obviously, I mean, I got into much meatier conversations whenever we were going through all this stuff. And it's not something I'm going to recall
Yeah.
precisely
Right.
correctly at this time. But
But I think that basically wraps it up. Um, we would love to have more in-depth conversations, or even on here more. I something that I was. Oh, I kind of was.
Wow.
You have more? I was just trying to keep it pretty basic. If you want to get deeper, then go ahead. But I will say real quick, on top of my head, I think.
I don't know if I started yet,
Oh, okay.
but no,
Well,
go ahead.
we'll just. I don't know how long we're making.
We'll see what. Um,
We'll see what kind of feedback we get, and we can go deeper in if we need to.
yeah.
But I did want to say, now that I'm thinking about this, I I would like to talk about, because I think it kind of helped me, if other people want another theology discussion talk, is how different Presbyterian, and again, I'm only comparing Presbyterian to Baptist because that's where we came from. Uh,
Well, not the way we grew up, but that's where we
no,
came from,
that as
being married.
being married, right? With
I mean, I grew up Assembly of God, Pentecostal.
yeah, I
She grew up Church of God,
Church of
very,
Christ.
yeah, Church of Christ. Sorry.
But anyways, but is the way that just the church operates, but because the elders and the congregation, like just everything is so different. The whole church
Yeah.
government would be government.
Mm-hmm.
That's so I find it
I mean,
really
that's where the
interesting.
presbytery, comes from. I mean,
Yes,
but I mean, that's the thing. This is a very surface level conversation.
and if
There's
you want to keep talking,
a
I
lot
definitely
more.
don't want to cut you off,
Well,
but
it's not necessarily something. I mean,
I just wanted to kind
we're
of
hitting the basics.
answer the viewer's question a little bit. If there was any more,
There's going to be that person, possibly. I mean, maybe not out of the two viewers that she says we have, or listeners, but I know there's actually more than that because there's a lot more hits on the feed. But
okay.
because there's other feeds it goes to.
But that was our,
But that's a quick take,
and
right?
that was someone that messaged me.
I felt
What?
as a dad I needed to baptize my children because I'm discipling my children. I wasn't evangelizing my children. I'm raising them in the way that they should go. I'm discipling them, and I'm teaching them the Lord's laws. I'm trying to put them on the doorposts. And I'm trying to raise them to be Christians. Now that at no point of my children being baptized or anything of the sort, let me make sure we say this, did they become saved, right? They never were saved. They were part of the body of Christ because they were part of the visible church, right? And that's another deeper portion of the context. But um, I think the best way to clear all of that up in the simplest of terms is that in Matthew, when they're talking about you know the pruning of the vine, and you cut the ones that don't bear fruit off, and they get cast into the fire. That's, to me, that's essentially saying those who are part of the visible church, who do not bear fruit, who are not called by Christ or called by the Father to Christ, they are the ones that are pruned off and thrown into the fire. And yeah, that means they're going to hell, because let me present one thing: without repentance and faith, we are bound for hell. We do need Christ to work in our life to, you know, uh, we need that understanding of we're sinful, wretched people. Bree and I, we mess up daily on all kinds of things as parents and just in general. And so we do need God in our life. And, thankfully through Christ, we are saved and we're covered by the blood that Jesus shed on the cross when he died and rose again 3 days later, defeating death. And, that's why they say, "Oh, death, where is your sting?" Because there is victory over death through Christ. And with that, we have, uh, our ticket to hang out with God the rest of our life once we leave this world. But the baptism is just showing that we're aligning ourselves with Christ. And even the Baptists would say that, you know. And so for me, if we're agreeing that we're aligning ourselves with Christ, when it comes to my children, I'm aligning them with Christ as well. But they don't partake of communion until they confess Christ, until they recognize their own sin. And then when they understand they're called, that's whenever it happens. And we have hope for that. That doesn't mean it's going to happen. There's no guarantee, but we hope, we have faith. And
is that recording?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Okay, just making sure.
So
So that's it. If there's anything else we need to go deeper in, let us know. I think the next podcast we have, uh, it's gonna be, I don't know, maybe child something,
Child something.
like, with children, parenting.
I was talking about parenting. Well,
Yeah.
I'd love it if we could get feedback. Like, I wouldn't care if we didn't
Yeah.
have a direct go to on every podcast. If every episode we recorded was somebody's suggestion, I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like
So,
I have some tidbits of stuff I kind of want to talk out there, and um just good food for thoughts on some things. But I really want to know what our viewers maybe want to.
and we're definitely going to get to the point where we start talking on topics I want to hit, like parental alienation and
Like, we have a whole list.
divorce and
Uh,
struggling in marriage. And, there's a lot of that stuff we want to hit.
Kids and dating and
Yeah.
babies, and then
We're not having any more.
and then that's another thing, finding your identity of not just being a mom to young children. I'll say young children because, I'm still a mom to a 19-year-old. I'm still a mom to a 16-year-old, but I know for me, and I won't go too long, that is something that I really wasn't prepared for, is to not be a mom to a little one anymore. Like, it was difficult. I had that for say 15 years, 16, 17 years. I will say a little one is little till say 3. Um, it was weird. It was emotional. It was
Well, you
like,
had to refine yourself.
right, exactly. And I think whether
Which is,
so that's just something I kind of want to talk about, and talk through the ups and downs emotionally of all the topics, from parental alienation to being a step parent to being a biological parent.
to dealing with the good ex to dealing with the bad
Yeah,
ex.
I mean,
You know,
just so much, that I think, my biggest thing
Well,
is huh?
I was gonna say, but we still want to keep the faith as part of our conversation.
Oh, absolutely.
But yeah,
But I'm just saying, like, I want to share my story because I feel that everything we've gone through, let's make good of it. How can we, uh, with the whole parental alienation and father's rights, for example. And just to clarify, when I talk about father's rights, I'm talking about a healthy father, non-abusive. Because anytime you talk about like father's rights, mother's rights, oh well, they're abusive, they're bad. No, we're not talking about them. We're talking about like a healthy person for their child. You might not like
yeah.
your child's father, child's mother,
But there's still an
but
appropriate way to raise that child with
correct,
the father in their life.
right, or the mother in the life,
Yeah.
whatever. But I say, and then because I've made a difference in someone else's life. It was on Facebook. This man, stranger, posted something, and he was like, I don't know what to do, blah blah blah. I reached out. I was here in Ocala, and I reached out to him, talked to him, and I'll go into that detail another day. But he thanked me. He's like, "Oh my goodness, thank you. I didn't know about this." So I want to use it to advocate. Kids with autism, kids with selective mutism. Just everything we've been through.
There's
I
Well, I mean, there's purpose behind all things,
Right.
right? And you can say it's chance, you can say it's karma, you can say it was whatever. We believe the Lord draws a line with, a straight line with a crooked stick. We look at the life that we've lived and we can see, where God has worked in us, and we know that's for the good. Um, and we know He gets glory out of that, and we want to be a voice for those who don't know things that are going on out there that other people could be benefiting from.
Right. Because
I
you
guess.
don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, you don't know what you
And
don't know.
I hope.
You got 25 seconds.
Oh, goodness. That's it?
That's it.
25 seconds.
Yeah,
All right.
20 now.
That's it. All right. Over and out.
No, we got 15 now.
15. Oh, I don't
Yeah.
know
All
what to
right.
say.
Well, that's it for us. I did change the podcast name to The Caraway Chronicles because that vote
Woo!
won. So good job, guys. Otherwise, if there's anything else, post it, like, share, subscribe, and we will see you all very soon.